Hi, friends. This is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about the relationship between dungeon masters and non player characters because I think it has changed. All right, now what changed it? Well, the emotional revolution. Scott, what's the emotional revolution? First of all, if you know, thank you. If you don't know, my deepest apologies. I avoid like the plague making sequential playlists, but sometimes it's necessary because otherwise I just repeat myself too much, and that's not exciting for you or me. If you don't know what the term emotional revolution means, you need to go to the beginning of this playlist list and watch it from the start to here. Thank you. Apologies. All right. Okay. Now that we're through the emotional revolution and we understand how B. Dave Walters has changed Dungeons and Dragons goals forever, okay, in my humble opinion, we then have to re-evaluate what is the relationship between a dungeon master and the non-player characters. What's really fascinating is we now know that the relationship between a player and a player character is deeper than we ever imagined, right? The player character is serving the role of emotional vessel and emotional shield, allowing players to experience specific emotions at specific frequencies, at specific intensities that they never would have been able to do in their own real life because it would have been too dangerous or too costly or too risky, right? But Gary Gygax built Dungeons and Dragons not as a game, but as a human improvement engine, and brought forward this ability for us to explore emotion the way an astronaut explores space, right? Like just at a level we've never seen before, right? So we now know that the relationship between the player and the player character is deeper than we ever expected, right? And that one of the consequences of that is backup characters should never ever ever be used. And going forward, always, any player that has a backup character, get them off your table. Get them off your table. They have no business there. The worst possible player you could put, in my humble opinion. Any dungeon master, get out of that table. Leave that table immediately. No dungeon master worth his salt is ever going to, or her salt, is ever going to use a backup character after understanding what B. Dave, the modern revelation. Don't know what that term is? Check my channel specific, my channel specific playlist, link below. Okay, thanks. All right, so pretty astounding, really kind of pretty incredible. Okay, all right. So what's so then once we get there, once we understand the relationship between the player and the player character and how it's fundamentally changed and how it's much deeper than we ever expected. Wait, what is the relationship between a dungeon master and the non-player character, right? So first of all, it's fun that we have to first of all, before we can even, as we enter this discussion, we have to acknowledge the difference between the dungeon master and the non-player characters and the player character, the player and the player character. First of all, the player is going to strive to not waste the life of their player character. Okay? And the reason why is they owe their player character for being an emotional vessel, for being an emotional shield, right? For giving this incredible gift to them, right? Now, but wait a second. Would Dungeon Masters have the same? Like, would they be careful to not waste the lives of a non-player character? No, that's not the case at all, right? There might be narrative reasons why, like you might murder an NPC at the beginning of a session for narrative reasons. That's profound. That means that not only so player characters have to be invested in their players have to be invested in their player character, or it's a sign of human deficiency, in my humble opinion. It's not the same with dungeon masters. Dungeon masters have to be willing to waste the life of their non-player characters for narrative reasons, which means the first thing we learn about the relationship between the dungeon master and the player is that the player's relationship with their player character is deep and abiding. Okay, the dungeon master's relationship between the dungeon master and a non-player character is not deep. It may not actually. may not be deep or abiding, right? It's fundamentally different. How is it different? That's a great question, and we're going to explore that in the weeks and months to come. That's as far as I want to go in this video, just acknowledging that incredibly important fundamental difference. Every single word you heard in this video is my humble opinion. Absolutely nothing more, absolutely nothing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider like, subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.